right, being I thought I did 1 through 7 yesterday. Does that sound about correct? All right, what else would you like to see from 9 on up to 17 or whatever it is? What can I help you with? Excuse me. 9 through 17, what kind of questions? I know 17 there might have been a question on. 17 looks like a train wreck. So go to page, find it on page 17. Take a look at it. Okay, so can we all agree that this does not equal 0? It's not equal to 0 at this point. That means we got to move some stuff. Agree? So let's just start. I'm going to move the 3x squared. I got you. I put you in. So let's take care of that first. Do what? I missed?
Oh no.
All right, so then I'm going to add 2x to both sides. And notice what happens to the 2x's. Gone. And then I'm going to add 6 to both sides. Okay. Is it now equal to 0? And if so, does that look like it kind of, sort of, in a little tiny way, cleaned up a little bit? All right, so there's a couple things you could do. You could recognize that this is the difference of 2 squares and factor it. Or we could try and get x by itself by going, oh, I'll add 25 to both sides. Those cancel, so I get 4x squared equals 0 plus 25. Divide each side by 4. So x squared equals 25 over 4. If I have something squared, I just have x squared on one side, or y squared, or z squared, or p squared, or z squared. What should I do to get it away from being squared? What do I have to do to both sides? Root. Good. Don't forget the plus minus. Hey, square root of 25. 5, square root of 4. That's it. Plus or minus 5 halves. That's it. So that's a nasty looking question that cleans up to be relatively simple if you just go through the simple routines of start making it look a little nicer. Anything else on page 165, 166 I can help you out? Okay. So you and Morgan can flash signs back and forth. How much?
13.
I got you. 13. Two x squared minus 5x minus 33 equals 0. Okay. This is a really good one to ask about. And the reason why I say it's a really good one, what's my C value if I plug this into the quadratic formula? Yeah, it's negative 33, right? And so wouldn't you feel that that would get you kind of a big answer under the radical? So I bet you there's a simpler way to maybe do this problem a little bit quicker. So I wanted us, every time we get to these types of things, I want you to realize, okay, let's multiply those together. So I get a negative 66. First off, does everyone understand where that negative 66 comes from? I took my C value, negative 33, multiplied times my A value, which was 2. Now, when I multiply two things together and it comes out negative, what do you know about the signs of the objects? One's positive, one's negative. So now, we're trying to figure out the factors of 66 that might add up to negative 5, where one of them's positive and one's negative. Now, I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm trying to steer away from the quadratic formula on this because I'm not a big fan of that big negative 33 I'm going to plug in. So 1 in 66. Is there any way I could make 1 in 66 positive and negative and add up to negative 5? Well, 66 is 65 away from each other from 1. So I don't think there's any way this can happen. What about 2 and 33? Is there any way that 2 and 33 could add together to get to negative 5? do you think? Friends, this is participation, not just stir. No. What about 3 and 22? Can 3 and 22 be added together or subtracted from each other to get to negative 5? Do you notice how I'm going slowly through this? Let's see. 4 is not going to work. 5 is not going to work. Oh, 6 and 11. Can 6 and 11, one being positive, one being negative, add together to get me negative 5? Yeah. This is going to work. So it's going to be negative 11x and positive 6x. If I add those together, I get negative 5x. Agree? Again, we're steering away from the quadratic formula because, one, I know that big old negative 66 could really hamper Morgan, I'm going to give you a choice. Stop putting fun stuff on there. And we're going to get to some math, all right? Deal? All right, so I'm going to replace the negative 5x with negative 11x plus 6x minus 33. Oops, not 30, 33. Okay? We look to see what we have in common between those two. It looks like I just have an x. That gives me 2x minus 11. This one looks like I can maybe factor out a positive 3 because 3 goes into 6 and 3 goes into 33. And that's going to leave me 2x minus 11. So that brings us down to this. What should I do when I get to this point to solve it? All right, well, I don't want to distribute if we're already undistributed. What should I do with each set of parentheses? Equal to 0. Very good. And then just solve each. So I'm going to add 11, divide by 2, and then I'm going to subtract 3. And there's my two answers. Now, friends, if we had plugged this into the quadratic formula and you didn't make any sign errors, these are what your two answers would be. But the reason I chose doing this way is if I plug this into the quadratic, I'm going to get x equals negative 5 plus or minus square root negative 5 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 33 all over 2 times 2. This, to me, has error written all over it because there's a lot of places you could definitely make an error. Hey, how are you? Good to see you. I like that shirt, mister.
Oh, thank you.
What's your first name again? I forgot.
Mike.
Mike.
Last name Armour.
Armour.
Just like Under Armour.
Under Armour?
Yeah, I got
My
it.
last name's Stirrup, and there ain't no
Okay.
mister. There ain't no mister on the front end.
Okay.
Just Stirrup.
I'm just checking some of these students I have on my list.
Some
So
good
they're-
kids. Good
They're
kids.
here, so that's the big thing.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know. Hey, check this out. What I write here,
Goes on to okay. That's pretty
and
neat.
look at that. I'm recording.
Okay.
You know what happens when I record? I save it to YouTube. Once I do this to YouTube, I save it back to Schoology.
Okay.
So if I have a student who doesn't speak English, they can change the subtitles on YouTube to any language.
Oh wow, that's
Like,
real good.
I'm like, dude,
Okay.
this is a game changer. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
so-
awesome.
yeah, I don't have, not this class does it, but I have one in this class, but she's absent today. But in my 5th period, there's like 3 kids.
Okay.
Who you eyeballing? Which one's giving you the?
No,
Which
I
one's
have,
giving?
I have Miss Miller. She know I am. All the attitude that don't faze me.
Yeah.
I've been coaching for years.
Miss Miller, who am I to you?
Ooh, what's she say?
Shots fired.
What's that?
She sounds She calls me her school dad.
Let me see her real quick.
Tomorrow I can go see Mr. Miller. All right. Any other questions? Hello, Stone. I took care of attendance and I took care of homework, and it was pretty good. Pretty good.
Good.
It was pretty good.
Good.
All right.
Just make sure you go into class, okay? Thank you.
Yes.
My
Have a
friend,
good day.
be blessed.
Yep.
All right. So we all have whiteboards. Well, I don't, but I have a tablet. All right, my friends, I would like us to do this, and because I thought it worked well yesterday. Would you turn your booklet to page 169? Now, what I want to do is, again, like what we did yesterday. And I don't know, Miss Stone, did you think yesterday went well, how we did it? You know, where they wrote down the problems and then they could then put the correct solution in the book?
Yeah, I think that was decent. Yeah.
And we're not having a race, especially some of you, it's late in the school year, your erasers are down to a nub, and so you get the scratching of the metal on the, oh. That's not stirrup noises. All right, so do you find page 169, my friends? We good? All right, my friends, what I would like you to do first is I would like you on your whiteboards. I would like you on your whiteboards. I would like you on your whiteboards to try and do number 2. Try on your whiteboards first to do number 2. Hey, buddy. Now, while you're writing stuff, I'm just going to talk. Is this one that you should attempt the quadratic formula on? I'm not thinking so either. Why am I saying not to do the quadratic formula on it? Because it might be a lot shorter, and we don't miss a b value up there, right? But this is a shorter problem. Hey, does someone want to give me a shout out so I know how to start this problem? Okay, I like it. So it was said to add 16 to both sides, and I think that's the appropriate move. So this is going to cancel. So if you had made that error originally, go back and change it real quick on your whiteboard. And then see if you could start solving it from there. Not me. Love you, kid. You know that. All right. If you got up to that point, what do you think you should do next? Somebody give me a shout out. Divided by 2. Hey, why don't I do the square root of both sides first? Well, because I have a 2 that's attached to the a squared. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2. And I'm going to get a squared equals 16 over 2, I believe, is 8. Where should I go from there? Root. Square root both sides. Hey, my friends, if we square root both sides, what should we not ever forget? Plus minus. Very good. So then I'm going to get a is equal to plus or minus root 8. Now, if you got to this point, you would get 2 of the 3 points for the problem. Why am I saying you're only getting 2 of the 3 points at this point? I could break down the 8. So root 8 is going to break down to root 4 times 2. Square root of 4 is 2, so I get 2 square root 2. So this answer is a equals plus or minus 2 square root 2. Now, I had a student I was helping later yesterday who said, hey, do I have to carry the plus minus all the way through? Well, if you start forgetting it, where might you forget it later? Yeah. At the end. You don't want to miss that 1 point. I think that plus minus is one of the easiest things to get. Friends, if you feel comfortable with what you've written on your board, why don't you write that down for number 2 in your booklet? Please. Does anybody need more time writing that down? Yeah. May I move away from this problem? We good? All right. Now I want to go down to number 6. So write down number 6 on your whiteboard if you would, please. But don't start it yet. Don't start it yet. Number 6. So x to the third minus 5x squared equals 36x. Friends, what do you notice about this problem? First off, is it equal to 0? No. So we want to make it equal to 0. Agree? So what should I do to make it equal to 0? No ABCs yet. Move the 36 over. It's a positive 36, so I'm going to do the minus of 36. X. Now, once I get to this point, before you go any further, some people might say, okay, it's time to go to the quadratic formula. But what would be the problem if we went to the quadratic formula at this point on this problem? What does this problem have different than... Has an exponent of 3. Okay. I like it. So let me just highlight this. I got... Basically, all 3 of these have an x. So what do you think I could do if all 3 of those terms have an x? Do what? Can't combine because I have different exponents, right? Can't add anything together because I have different exponents. I have x to the third, which is a third-dimensional object. I have negative 5x squared, which is a two-dimensional object. And I have negative 36x, which is a one-dimensional object. I can't add third dimension, second dimension, and first dimension together. So what should anyone have an idea what I should maybe do? But what are you going to factor? I like your idea. Yeah, they all have an x in common. So if I pull an x out front, it's going to give me this. Now, do you remember back when we had an x outside? What was one of my answers automatically?
Just checking on Lily.
Right here.
Lily? Okay.
All right. So friends, what does this x outside automatically mean one of my answers is going to be? Anybody? First off, how many answers should this one have? 3. Why 3? You're absolutely right saying 3. Why is that? Highest exponent is a 3. That means I have 3 answers. So guaranteed, one of my answers is going to be x equals 0. And that takes care of that first answer. Okay? Then I'm going to take this. I'm going to deal with that now. Notice, I'm not dealing with the outside x. I know that outside x said, hey, x equals 0. Outside free x, not attached to anything, with adding and subtracting, x equals 0. All right, so friends, I guess for the red x squared minus 5x minus 36, we could jump to the quadratic formula, or should we maybe check to see if it'll factor first? Yeah, so I'm going to put 1 out front, multiply here. So I get a negative 36 when I multiply the c value and the a value together. Agree? Does that make sense? What do you know about, I'm looking for 2 numbers. What do you know about those 2 numbers as far as their signs go in this case? Very good. One's positive, one's negative. I have plus minus in this situation. Okay? Does everyone understand why I have a plus minus? The reason is, if I take 2 numbers and I multiply them together and my answer comes out negative, I had to have had a positive and a negative component. So now I want to think about what multiplies together to give me 36 that adds to negative 5. Well, let's just put up there 1 and 36. Do you think there's any way that I could add or subtract 1 and 36 from each other to wind up with an answer of negative 5? No. What about 2 and 18?
No.
Yeah, 2 and 18, they're 16 apart from each other, so that's not going to work. What about 3 and 12? 3 and 12 is getting a little closer, but those are 9 apart, and I'm trying to get to 5 apart. What about 4 and 9? 4 and 9 are 5 apart. So now this is going to work. We just have to figure out which one's positive, which one's negative to give me the negative 5. So negative 9x and positive 4x. That right there is going to replace this right here. Okay? And again, one key note, why I'm not jumping right to the quadratic formula, it's so easy to make errors with the quadratic formula because there's so many signs that do take place. Okay? So it might be in your best interest to try this. We know it's going to factor, and I'm going to go minus 9x plus 4x minus 36. That's going to give me x and x minus 9. What factors out of these two? What factors out of 4 and 36? 2. Go a little bigger. 2 does work, but go a little bigger, I bet you. 9 doesn't go into 4. Does 4 go into 4? Does 4 go into 36? That gives me x minus 9. All right, so I have x plus 4 equals 0 and x minus 9 equals 0. So x equals negative 4. X equals positive 9. Friends, do I have 3 answers highlighted? Or no, that I know? This is an answer. Don't forget to put that. That's an easy one to forget about, but don't forget it. And then put these. Those are my 3 answers. Friends, if you feel comfortable with what we have written here on this board, why don't you put it in your notebook? Please. My friends, does anybody need more time writing this down in the book? Okay. Thanks for letting me know. Just trash already.
Hey, Stirrup.
Yeah.
When did we decide we were going to do the test? Tuesday?
Whoa, what?
Ooh.
Thursday? Friday? I know it was next week, but I know we haven't met as a PLC group yet.
Let's tentatively say Thursday at the minimum.
Yeah, if we may push it back.
So at the minimum, that'd work, right? Yeah.
Does that help with some of my people who are planners?
Oh, that's true. Oh, like 20-minute periods. So we definitely won't have it Wednesday.
We have CMAS on Wednesday.
And then you have each period for like
20 minutes.
Jeez.
Wait, but
It is
only for juniors.
It is, but it affects the scheduling because, so for example, like they have 800 juniors. So usually counselors are the one who proctor CMAS. But if we have a true 800 juniors, we're going to have to pull teachers to proctor. So that also affects classes. So it's.
And then we were still advisory?
No. Yeah. Hour-long advisory, everything is fine. I'm kidding. Friends, take a look at number 8. Go ahead and start writing that down on your board when you're ready. I'll go grab the calendars, take a look. But get number 8 written down on your whiteboards. Please. Hey, buddy. We will have a small quiz on Tuesday. Small quiz on Tuesday, but then the test itself is the week after next week.
And probably the quiz is going to be on quadratic formulas.
Yeah, I'm not going to shift around on this.
Are we going to have a little factory, do you think? Did
I-
you understand anything I said?
I think reading through the yawn, where we're going to have a little bit of factoring. I'm going to try to. So I think on Monday, what we'll do on Monday is, today's Friday, right?
Yeah. Thank God.
So let's do this. I don't know. What do you think, Stone? We'll have a true review day on Monday,
Wait, what?
and we'll hand out a sheet of paper, and whatever they want to write on that sheet of paper from the review day, we will let them use it on the quiz on Tuesday. Good? Nuri, you with me? All right.
Thank you, Mr. Stirrup.
No. No applause, just throw money.
Daniel, are you okay?
All right, so my friends, we're looking at number 8. We're looking at number 8. Take a look at number 8. All right, friends, let's first think about this number 8. Is it written on your whiteboard? Is this one that I would jump right into the quadratic formula on? No. What do you think I should do on this one? I heard factor. Okay, so some of you might recognize that as the difference of two squares, which factors down to 2x plus 4 and 2x minus 4. That's fantastic. But sometimes we have to revert back to some of our safety ideas, right? Like the stuff at the very beginning of the year, like, oh, I know how to do this. I can do that. What should I do next? Divide by 4. So let's leave it at that for right now. Let's see if you can solve the rest of it at that point. That's some good coffee. Okay, I like your answer. You might be close. You might be close. So, friends, 16 over 4 is going to go down to what? 16 over 4 reduces down to what? 4? What am I going to do to both sides? And not forget. I'm going to do a root. Don't forget. Plus minus. Agree? So you get x equals plus minus. Do I know what the square root of 2 is? Or, excuse me, the square root of 4 is? 2. There's my answer. So make sure you don't have a radical sign. Once you take the square root, don't have a radical sign. Yeah, that's why we're practicing, right? So, friends, if you feel comfortable with what's on your whiteboard and what's on the regular board, why don't you write that down for number 8 on your worksheet?
And a good note, too, like anytime you square root something, the square root kind of like you can square root of 4 nice. I always slash it, meaning that the square root is done. It's gone. So if it's a nice, perfect square, you can always slash it and be like, all right, that's done. I don't need it in my next problem.
Hands are clean, right? I like it. My friends, does anyone need any more time writing this down, or you feel comfortable with what you've written on your booklet? We're good? All right, so we're going to take a look at number 10. And the reason I have number 10 is I bet you a bunch of students would see, oh, I ain't doing that, too big. Agree? One, I know I can't start factoring it or use the quadratic formula on it because it's equal to 200. But I want you to think about something. What number do you think 2 and 30 and 200 could be reduced by? 2. So look at this. I'm not even moving anything around. I just realized I had a bunch of even numbers up there. So that's going to take me down to this. Is that okay? So regardless if I choose to factor it at this point or use the quadratic formula at this point, what do I have to make sure takes place before any of that happens? Yeah, get the 100 over on the other side. You want it equal to 0. So I get to that point. Now, my friends, quadratic formula or not? I mean, I kind of want to factor it. But I'm not quite sure if it's going to factor, so I'm going to put a 1 out front. I'm going to go negative 100 times 1, so I get negative 100. What can you tell me about the two numbers, the signs of the two numbers, when we get negative 100? We got one of each, plus and a minus. All right, so I want to figure out, and I don't know if this is going to work, but I want to figure out if there's two numbers I can multiply together to get negative 100, and those same two numbers, when I combine them together by addition or subtraction, I get positive 15. Well, let's go with easy. 1 and 100, are they going to add up any way, shape, or form to get me positive 15? Too far, all right? What about 2 and 50? Is there any way that 2 and 50 that I could add together, whether they're positive or negative, would get me to 15? No. 4 and 25. Getting closer, but can I add 4 and 25 together to get 15? No. 5 and 20. I like this. We already know one has to be positive, one has to be negative. Okay. So these are going to work. So which one has to be positive, which one has to be negative to add 20 and 5 together to get to positive 15? Positive 15, though? Flip it. If I have a positive 20x and a negative 5x, do those indeed add together to give me positive 15? If I flip-flop the signs, I would have gotten a negative 15. It means we're going to make a goof up. All right, so ready? I'm replacing 15x in whatever order I want with 20x minus 5x. Agree? What can I factor out of both of those? What does x squared and 20x have in common? X. Okay. What sign comes down? What comes out of 5 and 100? What number goes into both 5 and 100? 5. If I factor a negative 5 out of negative 5x, it leaves me x. If I factor a negative 5 out of negative 100, that gives me a positive 20. All right. What are my answers? What are my answers? Good. X equals negative 20. X equals positive 5. Very good. All right, so my friends, there's not a whole lot of real toughness. You have quite a few examples. Would you make sure you write that down on that page 169, 170? And your assignment for this weekend is page 169 and 170. And I would like you to do 1 through 15 odd. Hey, what's special about the odds, my friends? Miss Stone and I won't be there at home with you, but what would be there at home with you? YouTube. So find those odd answers on Schoology. Sound like a plan? Everybody happy?